We have another storyteller who's coming up here, and Mike Rossi. He is a local English teacher. He's an award-winning English teacher, I know, because he teaches with my husband. He's also the author of the Doxing of Clearwater High. He is the father to humans, and he's beloved by dogs. And is he coming on up here? Is he coming up? There he is. Come on up, Mike Rossi.
It's hard enough coming after a storyteller like Lutia. Now I have to follow Kathy. Sounds like that, and I sound like I'm rewinding puberty. In my basement, I have a shoebox containing 19 letters written to me by a girl named Lindsay. They are all that remains of a relationship that lasted from August of 1996 until June of 1997, the entirety of my junior year in high school. I've carried that box many miles. It weighs on me. Dear Mike, David says that if you pour hot sauce on the body of a cricket, its legs will pop off. We need to investigate this. Please bring 12 crickets and a bottle of Tabasco to my house on Saturday. That's the whole note. I remember looking for bugs in a cornfield at sunset, the cold of my fingers, and nothing else. Her handwriting slants rightward in big, loping curves. She misspells cricket 2 times in 2 different ways. I first met Lindsay when we were both hired by Dominic's grocery store. Give it up for Dominic's. You guys miss Dominic's? Yeah. They brought us in on a Saturday to train us. Now, it takes about 2 minutes to teach teenagers how to stuff produce into a plastic sack, and so we pretty much spent the rest of the 4 hours just screwing around. I immediately liked her. You know how most people, when you meet them for the first time, seem to be following a conversational script? Well, Lindsay was the ultimate improv artist. I never knew what she was going to say. She was an alien with fun curly hair and eucalyptus body spray. A can of mixed nuts with spring snakes inside, except instead of spring snakes, it was the New England Lobster Fest and a Super Bowl halftime show. It got to the point where you could tell me any story about Lindsay, no matter how ridiculous. And I kind of have to believe it. Dear Mike, sorry I missed your call. Chad and I had a bucket of wet underpants, and we were flinging it off the overpass. See what I mean? She wasn't some imagined girl with bangs and a ukulele. This was a real person, laughing as she flung wet undergarments onto the windshields of passing motorists. I was 16. How could I not like her? Now, the first few months of a great relationship are like the spinning teacups at Disney, minus the vomit. But as the ride slows down, you get to looking at the person across from you. I got used to the fact that Lindsay didn't think like me, or, would purposely mispronounce words or spin around for an awkward kiss just to see how I reacted. Instead, my eyes started to pick up details. Unlikable details. She bit her hangnails down to the cuticle until they bled. She would say awful things in private just to get a laugh out of her friends. She littered her. And she lied. Dear Mike, can't hang out this weekend. I'm grounded. She wasn't grounded. She was out with someone else. Now, if you think you know this story, pay attention. Notice how my eyes would dart restlessly around the room when she was telling me about her day, or how I would try to top her hilarious anecdote with an even hilariouser anecdote. Note how I rarely brought her around my friends, or how I claimed I didn't hear her message when she spent 4 minutes singing Boys Don't Cry into my answering machine. I loved Lindsay. but I didn't always like her. And she didn't always like me. So by the seismograph that measures the heart's faintest truths, I guess it didn't surprise me that there was another guy. But it hurt. And she was hurt by my hurt. The next letter, the one where she apologizes, begs for forgiveness, pleads for a second chance, was the longest note Lindsay ever wrote me, and one of the most raw things I've ever read. Here was the real Lindsay. Not the one-person flash mob that stuffed 150 supermarket coupons into my locker. But the girl who wanted desperately to be liked and couldn't stand the fact that that need made her do something unlikable. We got back together. I missed her. We were comfortable. I thought that no one would ever like me again, would ever want to go out. I didn't want to spend Friday nights with my parents. The thought of another guy making her laugh drove me crazy. It was easy. And then, 5 months later, I broke her. Mike, I don't understand why you won't call me back. What is going on with you? I know you're ignoring me, but I don't know what I did, and I want you to fucking pick up the phone when I call. But I didn't. Not ever again. That, too, was easy. She went to a different school. I never had to see her again. There wasn't somebody else. I wasn't still mad at her. She didn't do anything to deserve abandonment. If I'm being honest, and I think it's important that I am, I just didn't want to invest the energy that is required to maintain a relationship. So I calmly and purposefully withdrew from her life. There are many lessons to take from this. The first of which is that no matter how a relationship falls apart, it's important to find an ending that pays respect to the time that you two shone together. I denied Lindsay that, and it's one of the most awful things I've ever done. There is also the complicated truth that when you are with somebody, you are not really dating a fixed version of that person, so much as a continuum of people as they grow and evolve. It's especially true in high school when turns come on faster than bobsleds. Most relationships don't fail because of a single sundering act. They end because minute by minute, the person you love is made into somebody else. But that's all bullshit. The reason that I'm telling you this story is to explain what it is to be unlikable. Each of us has a core that is somewhat selfish and rotten. We spend so much time papering over it with filters that we begin to forget that it's there, to think ourselves beyond contempt. But you need to have seen it in your gestures. You need to have heard it in your voice. You have to remember. The foundation of my marriage and my fatherhood is the knowledge that I am simultaneously blessed with great love and unspeakable cruelty. That is why I keep a shoebox of 19 letters. My story with Lindsay ended. It had to, so that we could write better ones. But if I could send her one more note, this is what it would say. Dear Lindsay, I owe you a dozen crickets and 1 bottle of hot sauce. I want you to know that sometimes when I drive under an overpass, I look for falling boxers. Also, you were the most beautiful, interesting person that I knew at 16. I'm very glad we were together. I'm married now. I have 2 daughters. I think you'd like them very much. The memory of our time together has made me careful. I regret how it ended. I regret what I did. I'm sorry, Lindsay. And also, I'm not. Thank you.